This video is sponsored by Audible. This is The Defenders Rewrite Part 5. If you haven't seen parts 1, 2, 3, and 4, or you just haven't seen them in a while, I would highly recommend giving them a look again. The links are in the video description, but maybe you don't have time, maybe you're busy, or maybe you just love recaps, so here's a quick recap of everything that's happened so far in the series. If you don't need it, you can go to this time in the video. Okay. Matt finishes off the rest of the hand in New York City with a small assist from the Iron Fist, Danny Rand, and the daughter of the dragon, Colleen Wing. Hogarth does a favor to Jessica Jones and gets Luke Cage out of prison. Luke finds out that a businesswoman named Alexandra Bont is developing Harlem into oblivion. Because of economic displacement caused by Alexandra, everyone notices an increase in street-level crime. Luke goes to a protest where he learns of a vandal calling himself the Wrecker, who has become the people's champion. Danny destroys a Rand deal with Alexandra. Later that night, Luke investigates a mysterious lightning strike and is knocked unconscious by an unknown figure. After she hears about what happened to Luke, Claire calls Misty, Jessica, Danny, Colleen, and Matt for help. Misty and Jessica work together to try to figure out who hurt Luke, since they're the two best investigators in the show. Danny uses his chi powers to heal Luke. Danny tries to track the energy signature of the weapon that hurt Luke. Matt tries to figure out if there's a new weapon in town. He goes and shakes down Turk Barrett, and Justin Hammer finds nothing. Jessica and Misty run into Danny and Colleen at the crime scene. And because Danny and Colleen both partially match the description that Jessica and Misty got of the person that knocked out Luke, Jessica and Misty try to bring Danny and Colleen in for questioning. Danny and Colleen refuse and get into a fight with Jessica and Misty. And right before either can hurt the other, Claire and a now healed Luke arrive and tell everyone that he remembers what happened. He met someone at a construction site who was struck by lightning, and it turns out that person was the Wrecker. When Luke tried to take him to the hospital, the Wrecker refused and knocked out Luke with some sort of magic crowbar. Danny, Colleen, Misty, Jessica, Claire, and Luke all come up with a plan led by Danny. They're going to use Danny's magic sensing abilities to find the Wrecker, and then they're going to fight the Wrecker and take the crowbar from him. Claire calls Matt, but he refuses to help. He still doesn't want to work with the team after what happened to Elektra. She tells Matt where to find the group. The team tracks the Wrecker to a warehouse. Luke ambushes the Wrecker, and Danny and Jessica steal the crowbar from the Wrecker. But it is revealed that not only can the Wrecker summon the crowbar with his mind like Thor does with his hammer, the Wrecker has also assembled a group of 3 superpowered criminals. They are calling themselves the Wrecking Crew. The first member of the group is someone who we will not name yet, but eventually will be called Thunderball. He is the strongest member of the crew. He picks things up and throws them at Jessica. The second member of the group is someone named Piledriver. He's the fastest member of the Wrecking Crew, and he fights Luke Cage. The third member of the Wrecking Crew is named Bulldozer. He is the least vulnerable member of the group. He wears a helmet. He's kind of like the Juggernaut. Bulldozer and the Wrecker fight Danny. And right as the group is almost lost, Matt as Daredevil shows up after a pep talk from Stick, turns off the lights in the warehouse, saves the group, and they retreat. The team meets for the first time and talk. There's friction between the members of the group. Matt comes up with a plan. Matt as Daredevil and Jessica go investigate the construction site. Danny as Iron Fist and Luke hang out, and Danny trains Luke in harnessing his chi. At the end of the episode, Matt and Jessica make a discovery using Matt's super hearing that there is a cave hidden under the instruction site where they find a bunch of ancient markings and a pair of safety glasses. Let's do this. Alright, Wreck Shop. This is the episode where we finally figure out what's going on with the Wrecker. And while this video isn't super long, I want this episode to play out a little more like one of the episodes from Daredevil Season 3 that focuses specifically on one character's past. Even though in this video, one of our characters is going to be narrating this, I want this to all play out pretty slowly on screen. Getting invested in what the Wrecker's doing is very important in selling this entire series. So, we're back in Jessica's office. That night, the team's assembled again, this time by Jessica. Matt as Daredevil, Luke, Claire, Misty, Danny as Iron Fist, and Colleen as the daughter of the dragon meet Jessica at her office/apartment. Jessica asks if anyone wants a drink. Danny says, I could actually use one. Jessica says, not you. There's a knock at the door. It's Malcolm. He hands Jessica a file. She says, is this everything? Malcolm says, everything I could find on short notice. It's a lot. Jessica says, good. Then she looks over the files. Malcolm talks to the group. Let's have him be a fan of Daredevil's. He's confused by the Iron Fist, but Jessica tells him not to pay him any attention. Jessica says, I knew it. This is good. Matt says, so you know this guy? And now Jessica is going to tell us the story of the Wrecker, which would play out on screen with a little bit of narration from her. Jessica says, "So a woman came into the office last week, saying she thought her boyfriend was cheating on her, wanted me to follow him, but it didn't seem right. Relationship was going well, no likely mistress. I've seen a lot of cheaters and I can almost sense it. He wasn't one. On top of that, his girlfriend couldn't afford me. So you turned her away? I run a business, Iron Hand. It's shut up. Anyway, I didn't think anything of it. But then I found these." Jessica holds up the glasses. "So I had Malcolm look into it a little more. His name is Dirk Garthwaite. He was born in the Bronx. He was a construction worker. Went to prison for a few years from a robbery, but then it seems like he turned it around. Cut a 3-year sentence down to 1 with good behavior." Matt cuts in, "That's some pretty good behavior. Is everybody going to interrupt me? Sorry." So he turns his life around, gets a job at a construction company in the city, Wine Construction, which is tough for an ex-con. And Dirk does well, eventually gets promoted to foreman. But then, who shows up? Bont. And she starts buying up all of the construction companies in the city, including Dirk's. The owner, Sal, sells the company, but Alexandra keeps Dirk and the rest of the crew around. Now Dirk works for Alexandra, and that's where things get messy. Turns out, Alexandra's a pretty shitty boss. First, she cuts everyone's pay. Some quit, but Dirk can't. Ex-con needs to take what he can get, so Dirk stays on. And then Alexandra starts taking over Harlem, knocking down buildings, evicting people. And Dirk is the one knocking down the buildings. He's the face of Bont. He sees the protesters, he sees the people getting kicked out of their homes. It gets to him. And then, one of the buildings Dirk needs to demolish is his own, where he lives with his girlfriend, rent controlled. Only place in the area they can afford. That's the last straw. So here's my guess. Dirk comes up with this wrecker character and goes after Bont, vandalizes construction sites. Luke says, "Of course. That's how he knows how to get in without being seen." Jessica gives Luke a look. "You too?" "Sorry." So yeah, he knows how to get in. He knows when the site's gonna be empty. He cuts tires, tags walls, nothing crazy, becomes the people's champ. And this part is a real stretch, but when I went to the site with the Devil Man, we found a cave under the site. Had all kinds of magic, carvings, and whatever. Might have been aliens or Thor, I don't know. But I bet that's where he found the crowbar. One day during work, he didn't tell anyone about it, planned to come back that night and take it. Maybe he can sell it or something, make some money, so he can find a new place to live. So he goes back that night, the night you found him, does his usual wrecker stuff, and he searches the cave and finds the crowbar. And you think the power comes from the crowbar. Danny is silent. Jessica says, "You can talk." "Yeah, I could feel it. Whatever that thing is, it's where he got his power." So that was the lightning strike. Him getting the powers. Jessica gives up on controlling the conversation. Whatever. So he knocks me out and then runs away. But where did the other 3 come from? They weren't there that night. But what if he gave it to them? Like he shared the power with them? Luke says, "Well, why would he do that? He could stop me without them. What does he need a team for?" And Claire comes in. "Strength in numbers? I guess he knows that he can get more damage done as part of a team? They can look out for each other. It's how they beat you guys." Then Matt, "So who are they? The other 3? Malcolm, "I'm not sure. The descriptions you guys gave me don't fit any people he's worked with in the past. No friends, relatives, they could be anybody." Luke says, "Check the prison records. Anyone he spent time with. If I was forming a crew of supervillains, that's where I would start." Malcolm says, "Good idea." Matt, "So how can we use this? Can we find him?" Malcolm, "I checked with his girlfriend. She hasn't seen him in days." Luke says, "You think she's telling the truth?" Malcolm, "Yeah, I do. I told her to call me if she hears from him. Dirk also doesn't own any other property. He must have known that the warehouse you found him at was going to be abandoned, so he's probably hiding out at another abandoned property in the city. I'm working on getting a list together." Claire gets an alert on her phone. "Guys," Claire shows the group a news report. "Disaster at Harlem construction site. Officials are investigating the cause of a collapse at a Harlem construction site. Reports indicate multiple injuries and 1 casualty. It must be them, and people are starting to get hurt." Jessica, "Why didn't you feel anything? Your magic radar thing." Danny, "I don't know. Maybe he didn't use the crowbar? It's not an exact science." Jessica, "Well, can you find him now?" Danny concentrates, No. Jessica, "Useless." Danny, "Listen." Nat says, "Calm down. We need to figure out a plan. We can't wait any longer. We need to find them now, before they hurt anyone else." Well, they're gonna hit another site. What if we catch them in the act? There's a bot site on every block all over the city. You could never cover all of them. And what about Bont herself? If they're okay with killing people now, why not get her? Well, she's tough to find. Doesn't make a lot of appearances, especially with the protests. I think I can get her. Danny looks at Colleen. Jessica is shocked. Get her? Are you gonna just call her up? Danny says, yeah. And then Danny takes off his mask, revealing himself to be billionaire Danny Rand. Everyone is shocked. Colleen takes off her mask too. Misty says, wait, you're? Yep. While everyone thought I was dead, I trained with monks, got this. Danny shows his tattoo. But I'm still Danny Rand. If I call Alexandra and tell her that Danny Rand wants to make a deal, she'll listen. We can schedule a public appearance. There's no way the wrecker won't bite. Because, and not to nitpick, not unlike my podcast, Mostly Nitpicking, I think the group should react to the fact that they are hanging out with Danny Rand. He's a super rich person who came back and claimed his family's fortune and company after being thought dead for most of his life. That's a big story. Everyone would know it. Everyone would know who he is. And yet, in Defenders, when it's revealed that Danny Rand is the person that's working with the rest of the Defenders, none of them seem to really care. None of them see this as an advantage. None of them are even interested by the fact that they are hanging out with a billionaire. This, just like the Luke and Danny relationship, is also brought up in episode 10 of season 2 of Luke Cage, where Luke tells Danny that his real superpower is being rich, and that's really interesting. I want this season to play with that a little bit. So Jessica says, hearing this plan, well, and then what happens? I don't know if you guys all got hit in the head that hard, but we didn't beat these guys last time. We almost died. Well, they took us by surprise, and they didn't have me. Thanks for that, by the way. If we can work together, we can stop them. This is our best shot. But we also need to make sure nothing happens to Alexandra. We need to protect her. So we're her hit squad now. No, we're just defending her, for now. I don't like this. Well, does anybody have a better idea? Everyone is silent. That's what I thought. Danny, get the meeting. Schedule it for tomorrow. We'll be ready. Danny calls Ward, sets up the meeting. Matt starts talking strategy. He doesn't get more than 2 sentences in before he's interrupted by Danny. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., Columbus Circle. Everyone is shocked. They're putting out a press release now. He'll hear about it, and it'll catch him off guard. Jessica, you can't make it later? I haven't been up before 10 in a long time. Matt says, well, that's the plan. Go home, get some sleep, points to Iron Fist. Do whatever you do. We need to be ready for tomorrow. Everyone show up at Columbus Circle by 8. Jessica says, this week sucks. Malcolm says to Jessica, I'm sleeping over somewhere tonight, but I'll be here at 7 to check in on you. Jessica says, I'm not a child. Everyone leaves. They each go back to their place. Danny and Colleen, Luke and Claire, Matt, Malcolm, Misty. They all get a good night's sleep. The team is ready. But then, last thing, Jessica wakes up to someone knocking at her door. She checks the clock. It's 6 a.m. She walks over to the door. What did I say last night? I don't need a wake-up call. Jessica opens the door and finds 2 police officers. Jessica Jones? Yeah. You're under arrest for criminal trespassing. You need to come with us. Shit. End of episode. So that's episode 6. It's the Wrecker origin. I know it seems short, but you can stretch this out, really give the Wrecker some characterization. The team knows who he is. They have a plan that they think they can use to stop the wrecking crew, but a monkey wrench was just thrown into the works, and Jessica Jones got arrested. Oh, and one more thing. If you would like to learn more about the history behind characters like Daredevil and Spider-Man and Iron Man, I would highly recommend listening to Amazing, Fantastic, Incredible, A Marvelous Memoir by Stan Lee, Peter David, and Colleen Doran. It's the story of Stan Lee's life told by Stan Lee. The book covers everything from his childhood to his military service to the early days of Marvel Comics to today, or 2015, when the book was released. And you can find Amazing, Fantastic, Incredible, and tons of other audiobooks at this video's sponsor, Audible. Audible has the world's largest selection of audiobooks and Audible entertainment, including Audible Originals, which are stories created exclusively for audio, including documentaries, exclusive audiobooks, and scripted shows you can't hear anywhere else. And you want to know something cool that Audible does that I didn't even know they did? Audible has a collection of comics. So you can listen to comics as if they're a radio play. They have a full cast of voice actors and a score behind them and sound effects. It's really cool. They've got stuff like the Spider-Man story, Kraven's Last Hunt, the Astonishing X-Men story, Gifted, and the Daredevil story, Guardian Devil. So if you want something a little different, give these a look, they are very cool. And you can start listening with a 30-day Audible trial, choose one audiobook and 2 originals absolutely free. Visit audible.com/NandoVmovies, that is audible.com/NANDOVMOVIES, or text NandoVmovies, again, NANDOVMOVIES, to 500-500. As always, I have to say a huge thank you to everyone that continues to support the channel on Patreon. You guys are the best. If you want to see your name up here, get access to videos early, other cool stuff, throw in literally any amount of money at patreon.com/NandoVmovies. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. Also, if you become a patron, you can vote on polls. I just put up a poll about what the next video is going to be. Not saying I'm 100% sticking to it, but I just want to get a sense for what you guys think. So that's another reason being a patron is awesome. As always, listen to my podcast, Mostly Nitpicking, where every week me and my co-host DJ pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. We've done episodes on Joker and the new Terminator movie, and there's a lot of fun movies coming out at the end of this year, like Frozen and Star Wars and Cats. That'll be a lot of fun to nitpick. So you can find us wherever podcasts are found. We are at NitpickingPod on Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/NandoVmovies. It's where I post updates on videos and podcasts, and where I post polls. Like recently, I did a poll on who is the best X-Men. The results were 8% for Shadowcat, 31% for Kitty Pryde, 4% for Ariel, which is what they called Shadowcat in the 80s, and then 57% of you chose wrong answer. So good to know. Interesting results. That's all I got. I'll see you next time.